Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome to the first unit guide for Total War Warhammer 3, as we'll take a look at my new favorite unit, the Sky Junk of Grand Cathay. So we have a custom battle pulled up here, and we're just going to introduce the unit, as well as all its capabilities and tricks, and perhaps a few exploits that we can use, and that will probably get patched up as well. There are quite a few funny things you can do with the Sky Junk. So we're in a pretty standard Grand Cathay map, and we have ourselves just a melee unit to give the Inyan bonus over to showcase that. The Sky Junk is a ranged flying unit that always flies. It's a hot air balloon, and it has a couple components to it. So first off, we have the platform of crane gunners. There are 4 of them. Each of them have their individual reload timers, as well as shared ammo with the cannon in the front. So if we have 15 ammo here for the cannon, there's 15 ammo for the 4 crane gunners. You can increase your reload speed by spinning your Sky Junk by pointing it at different directions, and thus each individual model will aim and fire at a target. If they're hovering over a bunch of enemies in all directions, then obviously spinning would not do anything, but if you're facing the enemy in one direction, they have 275 range, the individual crane gunners, where the cannon has technically 360 range, but I'm going to prove that we can actually shoot across the entire map, which is kind of crazy. Aside from that, we also have technically infinite ammo, which is an exploit that I think will get fixed eventually, hopefully soon. But before it gets fixed, you can definitely try it out. Aside from those exploits, which we'll showcase very soon, the rest of the stat is pretty easy to understand. You can ignore all melee factors. Certainly, when an enemy flying unit runs up against you, like Chaos Furies, your melee defense will be applied, your armor will matter, but for the most part, this is not going to have any sort of melee stats added to the unit. You still have a mass. It's decent, actually, for a flying unit, but we're not going to consider any of that, as this is a range powerhouse. And most of our damage is going to come from the fire rain rockets in front of our hot air balloon. We're facing this way right now because I want him to fly up this mountain, which he can do, right? I clicked on him, I told him to go here, and he will float all the way up, and making him impossible to get hit by any unit the enemy has. Well, in this case, none of them have range, but even if they do have range, how would they ever reach me up there? Certainly there is a range indicator, but there's still physics in the game. You can't shoot that high up. So we'll be safe in certain maps because the enemy just can't reach you, which is an added benefit of the Sky Junk. Aside from that, the cannon does have a set amount of power. There's the base damage, the armor-piercing damage, the explosive base and armor-piercing damage as well, and this is divided across 7 shots, just like the regular fire rain rocket cannons that you get on land. And there's a reload time, which is shortened because we have the Inyan bonus active right now in-game, as denoted by this symbol. Technically, by default, I think it's over 18 seconds. In campaign, I have gotten this number down to about 6.6 seconds due to the various bonuses you can pick up on the skill tree and technology for Grand Cathay factions. So it does go down quite a bit. 6.6 is ridiculously fast. You run out of ammo really, really quickly. You can fire using the standard fire will, which will fire both the gunners as well as the cannon in the front. You have one ability, which is a bomb. It will literally drop a bomb from the base of your platform down below. It does explosive damage, with 66% of it being armor-piercing explosive damage. There is a cooldown for this ability, 60 seconds, and the range of the explosion is 10 meters. So fly over the enemy and drop this bomb on clusters of them to dish damage. So those are the standard things you know how to do. Let's talk about some of the non-standard things. So let's go to half speed. As we can see, it floats up. For these units, I'm going to turn it around real quick. If we want to manual fire our artillery unit, there's a couple ways you can do it in Warhammer games. For those of you who have watched my 3 Kingdom content, you know that holding down Alt will show you an indicator on the ground. It's a very light circle, you see. The farther you are, the less accurate you are, and thus the bigger the splash zone. And the closer you are, the more accurate you are. And you simply right click and it will fire at the location. It's a matter of targeting an area. Well, did you know that, just like back in Shogun 2, we can hit insert and we get first person mode with a fire like this, and that we can zoom in and fire as well. The yellow indicators tells you where your last shot was, so you can sort of gauge your shot in case you missed your last shot. And this is where things get really broken. You don't consume ammo when in this mode, and you can tilt up and fire across the whole map because of physics, because the angle goes way up. If you notice the indicator circle, we can hit about where the map splits in the middle with that gap, but we're clearly firing way over that range right now. We're firing past their initial deployment zone. It's slow because we have the slow-mo on. And we get a zoom in effect of the hit. And you can see the indicator. Now I can change it to modify my hits and then fire again. Now depending on your cooldown, this could speed up or slow down your cooldown per shot because you will have to see the animation. But you also get a first-person view of the explosions, adding to the fun of the game. Now if we exit this mode using escape or insert, you'll notice we didn't use any ammo. But if your crane gunner shoots when you're in that mode, you'll actually consume ammo. So if you want to use insert mode, turn off fire well. And then we can go back and do cool things like spin. You can see we lost the middle circle because we're actually spinning to adjust for it. And once we're within the acceptable area, it comes back and we can fire. And it gives us quite a nice view for the game. It's very extensive microing, so this shot's gonna fall short as you can see. And we can just adjust using the yellow indicator for our next shot. So now we want to lift up, it's reloading until it goes the full circle, go up a little and fire again. And the trick here of why it's so broken is we can extend range infinitely using this method because we can tilt the machine up. So you can locate your units in the beginning with deployment as far back as you want and then start bombing the enemy from early on, and we don't have to consume ammo at the same time. Now if you want to play fair but you want to get good shots with your unit because you right click on a unit, it might target the center of that unit, a little piece of that unit and so forth. The best way to place your, we're getting hit by a spell, which is why it looks like this. The best way to place your sky junk is slightly off to the side of your formation. So once the enemy collides with your front line, you have a good angle to hit them from the side. Notice how the circle in the middle is grayed out. It's because we're too close to the target to point down at this angle. So you can see we can hit things here. That's why we kind of want to be off to the side and then panning over our front line to hit them across the entire way for damage. That's a very, very useful trick to get some good shots on. And of course, the best part about this is you don't consume ammo. I hope they'll patch this quickly. And once they do, it's still very useful because you can pinpoint where you shoot, especially clusters of enemy, and you can get it to where you don't hit your own units. So for example, right now it's dangerous because they're so close to us, but if we're off to the side, let's say we have an imaginary line of units right here, and we have a group of enemies right here, I can just fire down like this to get a nice cluster shot at someone really, really close and wipe out multiple blobs of enemy that comes up to us. So this is a pretty neat trick to use for this guy's junk. There's not much else to talk about. This also applies to pretty much every single artillery unit in the game, but because we are the only flying artillery, this type of trick where we fire really, 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 really far away is only going to work for us, right? Because physics. We're elevated, we can tilt up, and we can shoot way over our range to the end of the map. And it's just simply ridiculous. And because we're in the air, we can climb mountains and stay safe from enemy units, even if they have range options. Of course, the unit that is going to be most damaging to us is going to be enemy flyers. So you're going to need something to protect yourself. Right now, the Grand Cathay Army definitely lack cheap flyer units to protect them, but hopefully with future DLCs, we might see some added. Miao Yin could be a last resort to get the Flying Dragon Lord to help you out, or just have a bunch of really good archer units to kind of shoot down the enemy air threats before they approach you. Once you eliminate all the air threats, you can turn very dangerous battle around. Do note though, if you only have flying units left on the battlefield, then you'll run into the issue of losing army loss. The game will actually make you lose army leadership, basically, on the flying units if they're the only units left, because or else you have a stalemate where your units fly, enemies only have melee. You fix that by having at least something on the ground. It could be Miaoying, or single entity unbreakable units like Terracotta Sentinels are great options. Cavalry units that are really fast and can kite for you are great options. Flyers that can toggle between air and ground does not work. So Longma units, if you land them, it does not qualify as a land unit unless they're engaged in melee, which often means they'll die and then you'll trigger the army loss of flying units only right after. As you can see, this mode can be quite fun, just playing as sort of an airship bombing units. And hopefully you guys enjoy this type of guide. We'll do this for more units that are interesting, but we'll probably not cover all units. So if you have an interesting unit that you want me to cover, definitely write a comment down below. And I'll see you all next time as we have these Nurglings come at us in mass and we can just bomb away here. It's so satisfying campaign to do this. And you get a first person view of how they die. We're playing Sniper Elite. Alright, until next time, bye!